Hello, I'm Doug Green. This is 30 Minutes. Highway 78 over the last several years has become a freeway unable to handle the growth in North County. Rush hour traffic often comes to a standstill. The accident rate on 78 has grown by alarming proportions. We'll take a look at the freeway that has become the scorn of the North County commuter.
Hi, I'm Larry Naratelli. The nuclear power industry has undergone dramatic changes in the last decade. 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, and the Washington Public Power Supply System have caused economic devastation and the loss of human life. The San Onofre nuclear power plant is a major supplier of electricity for all of California. What is the likelihood of an accident happening here? And how well prepared are we? Find out in a matter of time.
Hi, I'm Ken Kibo. Since the beginning of time, man has attempted to change and control the force of nature to his own benefit. The results have been mixed. Some attempts have been successful, others have not. Perhaps the most powerful force of nature is the ocean, and the city of Carlsbad is starting to realize that. The bluffs that run parallel to the ocean are slowly slipping away, and along with them, the Pacific Coast Highway. What is the city doing about this? Find out on 30 Minutes.
Called ADTs, Average Daily Traffic. Highway 78 was built for a sleepy North County of the 1960s and 1970s. However, it cannot handle the volume of traffic, some 80,000 cars per day, of 1980 and into 1990. Will this highway be expanded? How much will it cost? Who'll pay for it? In this report, we investigate Highway 78 gridlocked. There is no disputing that North County has grown and will continue to grow as the 1980s give way to the 1990s. Growth can be controlled, but not stopped. Rapid growth can take its toll on an area, not just by diminishing force, more and taller buildings, and longer lines at the supermarket. Perhaps the most blatant infringement on our daily lives of increased growth is traffic.
92.5, 10-4.
It's not uncommon to have life flight out here, 2 or 3 fire engines and 4 or 5 tow trucks and people on stretchers.
Highway 78, once a sleepy country road weaving its way through rural communities, today must accommodate traffic that would challenge a highway twice its size. According to the San Diego Association of Governments, in a report published in their quarterly newsletter, the population along Route 78 is expected to increase 60% within the next 20 years. It increased over 40% between 1980 and 1984. By the year 2000, North County's overall population will jump by 300,000 people, with 100,000 additional jobs. Congressman Ron Packard, a strong supporter of the highway bill, claims that Highway 78 has been an ongoing problem.
It has continually been a right-of-way that has had to be improved and widened and increased with on-ramps and off-ramps to accommodate the increase of traffic as we've grown in this county.
California Highway Patrol Lieutenant Fred Norton.
Our ADTs on Highway 78 in the past 10 years have increased from about 41,000 vehicles per day in 1977 to a mean average of about 91,000 vehicles per day in 1986.
The Highway 78 expansion plan calls for an additional lane to be added in each direction, providing for 3 lanes east and west. The federal government's share of the project will cover only half of the projected cost of $30 million.
The bill calls for the state to participate in the cost-sharing formula. We hope that the state will come up with the bulk of the additional amount required, but we also have agreements from the cities and the county to assist if necessary in that process.
The Highway 78 traffic problems impact each of the cities that border the freeway, and consequently each city will be held responsible for a portion of the total cost for construction. Mayor of Carlsbad, Bud Lewis.
As far as we're concerned, 78 is a major problem for all of us.
Assuming the city of Carlsbad does contribute funding for Highway 78 expansion, where will that money come from?
That we're not sure. The half-cent sales tax will be a real issue for us. I know all the cities certainly pushing for it, and we're getting a lot of public support. As far as the actual amount that Carlsbad will be paying, we're working on this. Johnny McDonald, our supervisor, will be meeting with all of us shortly, meeting all the North County mayors to determine what we think will be our fair share. And so really at this time, I can't say.
Mine was one of the very few, if not the only project in the entire bill of all the demonstration projects that didn't call for 100% federal financing. Well, I think mine is a much better approach, where we do expect local and state resources to help.
If you are among the 80 to 90,000 drivers that use 78 on any given day, then no doubt you number among those who have found themselves in a gridlock situation. For no apparent reason, traffic comes to a standstill. Or perhaps the reason is apparent. You're stuck in a jam caused by the alarmingly increased number of accidents.
That's the location 20.
It's a 1179, which is an injury accident with an ambulance rolling. So we have injuries out here right now. The key to driving safely out here is to reduce your speed and increase your space cushion between the vehicle in front of you. And basically just back off and slow down. There's too many vehicles, and the freeway surface doesn't support the amount of vehicles that are out here adequately. And to ensure that you're as safe as you can be, reduce speed and give a good space between the vehicle in front of you, because when an emergency happens, you're going to need that time to react, to slow down without crashing into the vehicle in front of you.
What advice do you have for commuters who are going to be commuting on 78 over the next couple of years before we see any kind of expansion?
The biggest thing is to pay attention to what's going on, and you should drive defensively. In other words, don't drive typically with the blinders on, just watching the vehicle that's in front of you. You should be looking ahead of yourself to see what's going on and be able to anticipate what's going to happen.
Widening the freeway is a major construction project and will take into the next decade to complete.
I would hope that it be completed by 1991, or at the very latest 92.
With further development and an increase in population, are there any short-term solutions?
San Marcos has come up with an idea of staggering, having employers stagger where their employees get off, and we are looking at that. I know they're already doing that. We're looking into what they're accomplishing over there. We've actually sent staff over there to check that out, and that's a good possibility of staggering time elements. And I know they're very successful up in LA when they had the Olympics, and this is where Mayor Thibodeau got the idea, and he's put together a good program, and so we're checking out to see how it's going to work, and we may even incorporate that here in Carlsbad.
I don't think that there is going to be a short-term solution to that problem. The solution to it is providing more traffic lanes.
This $30 million project will provide one new lane in each direction, enough, designers hope, to solve the traffic congestion. However, will it be enough to handle traffic on 78 10 years down the road?
I think it might be good, maybe 6-7 years at the most, because of the location and the way the people are coming into the area. Because I hope they're right. I hope it will last 10 years, but I have doubts about that.
I don't think it's the final solution, because I look a long ways down the future. That's the nature of my work, and I sense that we're not through with the 78, even if we get an additional lane on each side added to it, which we will. I'm convinced we will. It's absolutely critical. It's the most serious highway problem we struggle with in North San Diego County.
For the North County Transit District's Public Relations Office, Mike Gillespie.
Yes, we're going to get 78 expanded, but I will guarantee you, if we don't include some other alternatives, specifically buses and rail, in the next 10 years, you and I will be holding this exact same conversation, because they've just passed a special bill to expand 78 one more time.
I see mass transit also being, on the long term, part of our solution.
What's the secret to getting people to leave their cars in the garage and get on a bus?
Boy, if I could do that, I could get rich in a hurry, Doug. I don't know that there is a secret. I think it's psychological. Well, the one thing we can't do right now that most people can do is provide quick, cheap service. We can provide cheap service, but not quick, cheap service.
Without an increase in federal dollars, mass transit in North County will fall short of solving the Highway 78 problem. For the 90,000 who drive along 78 each day, news from Washington that the highway bill was passed came as welcome news. Until the badly needed third lane is constructed, defensive driving, staggered work hours, and public transit will be required to ease the traffic stress on the freeway.
There's nothing more volatile and more critical right now than transportation issues. It looms as number one in both Orange County and San Diego County. It's the number one concern.
It is the number one concern in North County and will remain so into the year 2000. It's actually a bit of a catch-22 situation. Freeways cause growth. Growth requires more freeways. This issue will be with us for some time to come.
Electricity. For 6,000 years, civilization thrived without it. In the last century, however, our society has become so dependent upon it that it would be difficult to imagine life without electricity. We use it to light our homes, to cook and refrigerate our food, to give us air conditioning in the summer and heat in the winter. It even allows me to appear before you right now. Those of us born in the second half of this century would find it difficult to function in a world without electrical power. Generating this power can be done using different types of fuel: hydroelectric, coal, oil, gas, and nuclear fuels are all used to produce steam which spin the turbine generators. Each of these power sources have advantages and disadvantages. Statistics show that the safest and most economical source is nuclear. So why is it also the most feared?
It almost seems as though you go to heaven with these other accidents and you go to hell with radiation. I mean, it's really a psychological problem.
Psychological or not, nuclear power plants continuously manufacture radiation to generate enormous amounts of electricity.
The unfortunate part is that one doesn't feel the radiation. It's not like heat. It doesn't burn you. It's sort of invisible. And this is what makes people very concerned.
Dr. Keith Delancey is an engineer in emergency planning at San Onofre Nuclear Power Plant.
For a mild overexposure, the symptoms are very similar to a sunburn. You see a reddening of the skin. As the exposure to radiation increases, then you start to see other effects. You start to see an effect on the blood-forming organs of the body, which makes it difficult for people to fight off the effects of disease. You see things like hair beginning to fall out, but this is for very high levels of exposure to radiation.
So why do we put up with nuclear power?
It's economics. If it can compete with other fossil fuels and hydroelectric and so on, then people will indeed use nuclear energy.
If we were using oil in those three plants over there to produce electricity, we would be using about 50,000 barrels of oil a day.
Many countries simply have no alternative. They do not have other sources of energy.
It would cost us 6.5 cents to produce 1 kilowatt of electricity using oil.
And energy is absolutely vital for any society's well-being.
It would cost us 4.3 cents to produce that same kilowatt of electricity using gas.
You know that all the most advanced and affluent countries have the highest energy use.
Nuclear costs us 1.2 cents to produce that 1 kilowatt of electricity, which, by the way, is the same cost as coal.
Dollars and cents. The business of creating radioactive materials is very lucrative and cost-effective. But after 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl, the question remains, is it worth the risk?
There's no such thing as no risk. I mean, we have to accept the fact that there is a trade-off, and we have to balance the advantages to the disadvantages.
Are plant personnel trained to react to a Chernobyl-like catastrophe?
Okay. First of all, I answer your question in two parts. One, a Chernobyl-type accident cannot happen here at San Onofre or in any American reactor, primarily because we have the containment structures. And two, our moderator is not graphite, which can burn, but our moderator is water. So, first of all, a Chernobyl accident cannot happen here.
Well, the experience today has been the problem of human beings. That every single reactor accident, the major ones, can be ascribed to human intervention. If we could only keep the humans out of the system, they would be entirely safe. 3 Mile Island, again, it was human intervention that caused the problem. And of course, Chernobyl was a gross example of 6 separate incidents that were carried out, maneuvers that were carried out to override the automatic shutdown systems. The reactor was pleading to be shut down. The valves were, the computers were screaming to stop, and the operators simply overrode them.
Nevertheless, human beings are required to monitor the computers running our nuclear power plants.
What we're in now is the simulator for units 2 and 3. And this particular simulator is an exact duplicate of the Unit 2 control room. And you could not tell the difference if you were standing in Unit 2's control room as to being here. Any modification that's made on the control room is also made on the simulator. And of course, as you know, we've had to wait to get in here because the Nuclear Regulatory Commission was holding the examination of our future reactor operators in this particular simulator. And what we can do is basically program any accident scenario that one can envision that would happen at a nuclear power plant in this simulator, and then we can test the reactor operators and their ability to follow their procedures and to reduce that accident down to where we've got the plant in a cold shutdown mode.
Everything's monitored electronically and fed into the computer?
That's correct.
Emergency coordinator. Lots of fluid accidents. We're going into local procedure now.
I think what people are concerned with is radiation getting outside of the particular power plant that we operate. There are 3 to 4 barriers. First of all, a fuel pellet for a nuclear power plant is about the size of the first joint of your little finger. And those pellets are arranged in fuel rods, which are approximately 16 to 17 feet long. They're clustered together in fuel assembly.
True coat person, the live bulb.
Metal that gives it a protective barrier. Now, these fuel assemblies are then encased in a reactor vessel. And if you could look at this reactor vessel as a big pressure cooker, that 8-inch vessel is a protective barrier in itself. Then we come to the containment building itself. That's what you see when you run down the highway. All right, this is a building that has walls that are 4 1/3 feet thick of concrete with reinforcing bar about the size of your forearm in this concrete.
What do we have here?
What you're seeing here, Larry, is an example of the rebar that we used in the construction of our containment building. This is only a small section. If you like, pick it up and see what you think of the relative size of it.
Sure. I would say it's fairly heavy.
If a 747 jet, fully loaded, dove straight into the top of the containment building, it would merely knock a chip out approximately 1 inch deep and X number of feet in diameter.
In fact, these containment structures are so strong that not even an Exocet missile fired from off this coast would penetrate them. But if all else fails, what happens if there is an accident at San Onofre? Linda Kincaid is an emergency planning specialist. She told us how the situation would be handled.
Once they've decided to sound the sirens, that's what's going to let the public know that they need to do something that's going to alert them. We have sent out emergency brochures to all of our public that live within 10 miles of the plant in hopes that we have prepared them for an emergency like this.
The first step to protect against a radioactive release is to go inside and close all the doors and windows until the plume of radiation passes by. How long would you be expected to stay indoors?
I would be surprised if you would need to stay longer than a day.
If a plume hit some of these buildings, how long would they be radioactive?
If it's not washed off, just left as is, about 100 years.
The ionizing radiation from a radioactive plume would, for the most part, be absorbed within the materials, the walls and the roof of the house.
If it's heavy contamination, it's best to leave as soon as the main plume or whatever it is had passed by.
The greater hazard that's involved here would have to do with part of the radioactive material in the plume outside seeping into the house, and that's why we ask people to close their windows and doors in the event of an emergency.
It's quite feasible to decontaminate radioactive surfaces. This has been well developed in the nuclear business, and so there are means for decontamination.
If we know we're going to lose a system that's going to allow radiation to go in the atmosphere, this computer will predict where, as you can see by this map it prints out, where the radioactive plume will go and in what strength and how far it will go before it presents no health hazards to the public.
And the difference between the size of this one and the size of this one is the amount of radiation released, or the wind factor?
No, it's probably more a factor of the wind and a combination of the radiation that could be released, but this is just different data fed into the computers which would give you these varying wind directions and wind patterns. But again, it's a very useful diagnostic predictive computer that we have.
And this has not happened, this is just...
These are all simulations.
The chance that an accident will happen at San Onofre is very small. Federal guidelines have classified emergency conditions into 4 levels.
Starting with the lowest possible level there is an unusual event, an alert, a side area emergency, and the highest level and the most severe level would be a general emergency. Now, we have approximately 1 to 2 unusual events per year. We have never declared an alert at San Onofre.
Although they've never declared an alert, San Onofre is not without a few nagging problems.
A radiation flea is a very minute, microscopic piece of uranium fuel from the reactor, and it occurs as a result of actual corrosion within the reactor core.
Before he leaves that containment building, he comes to a decontamination station in which he passes a scanner over his entire body and his clothing. And the worker did in fact do this. Then after he leaves that decontamination station, he goes through another whole body counter. So we know he went through these 2 devices to ensure that no radiation left that plant. Now somehow it did leave the plant.
Do you know why it could have gotten out of the reactor core onto a person, that he could carry it home? Or is that known yet?
Actually, probably hasn't been determined yet. At least I don't know what the answer to that is.
It's the first time it's happened to us in 19 years of commercial operation. That's a good indication that our program has worked. It's something that slipped through. It presented, to the best of our knowledge, no health effects to this gentleman. It did not exceed the nuclear regulatory limits for radiation exposure. But again, we're taking this very seriously. We're looking at it, and we're trying to ensure that something like this will not happen again.
Behind me is Unit 1, the first of 3 nuclear reactors built here at San Onofre. It has been in operation since 1968 and could be decommissioned in as early as 6 years. But long after it is decommissioned, the nuclear waste that were produced here will remain.
The volume of waste is so small, and so in a relatively modest, isolated area, one can keep this fuel for around 1,000 years, and by then it will have decayed to background levels. I mean, we have pyramids that have lasted 5,000 years and caves in Spain that are over 10,000 years. And so I think society will be able to cope with it in future.
Nuclear power is less than 50 years old, and there are over 300 plants worldwide. As the industry continues to grow, so will the atomic pile. What size will it be 100 years from now, in the year 2087? Ask your grandchildren. They will be the society that cope with it.
The city of Carlsbad is having a problem. The seaside bluffs running along the ocean parallel to Carlsbad Boulevard are eroding away at a swift pace. Normally, one might attribute this to the natural erosion process, but in this case, there is much more at stake. The danger lies in the potential loss of the highway stretching along the coastline above the bluffs. the Pacific Coast Highway. The city's answer to this problem is a $4 million project built along the beachfront, running 3,200 feet parallel to Carlsbad Boulevard. This is known as the Carlsbad Seawall. Man has, in the past, had a difficult time taming the forces of nature, particularly in regards to the ocean. Will the Carlsbad Seawall be different? John Cahill is the Municipal Projects Manager of the City of Carlsbad.
In 1984, 1985, there became evident a need, because of some beach erosion problems in and around that area, that some sort of protective device was required to help the city protect the roadway up on Carlsbad Boulevard. We were losing a lot of the bluff top access points down to the beach and losing a lot of the bluff area itself. It was decided that possibly some sort of a permanent beach access structure would be the best way to go to help improve beach access as well as protect the roadway up on top of Carlsbad Boulevard. The bluffs are eroding for two reasons. One, because of tidal action over time, and two, because of beach users literally coming over the top of the bluffs down and creating their own paths down to the beach. So the erosion in that area is enhanced by the pedestrian use over the bluffs and getting access down to the beach. We will hopefully have minimized that by adding very safe and very clearly identified structures to get down to the beach. In terms of the erosion, the wall will keep back the wave action and will essentially significantly reduce the erosion of the bluffs in that area. The wall itself is a reinforced poured-in-place concrete structure. It goes down to a depth of approximately 8 feet below the surface, of which 4 feet is embedded into the existing bedrock. So in terms of foundation stability, we feel fairly comfortable it's going to be there a long time. It has an original design life of 50 years. It has a functional life of close to 100 years, depending on wave action, depending on erosion in the area, and several other geologic factors of which we have no control. So we feel very comfortable that structurally it is a sound piece of equipment in that area that will help the bluffs and help the surrounding areas. In terms of wave action, if you'll notice, the wall is just slightly concave at the wall to be able to take the action and reflect back the wave action. So it was designed with that purpose.
After several years of planning, obtaining the proper permits, $4 million in expense, and over 9,300 tons of concrete, the Carlsbad Seawall is nearing completion. Where does the money for a project of this magnitude come from?
The total project cost is just shy of $4 million. We have secured funding grants from the State of California Department of Boating and Waterways in the amount of $2,900,000. The California Coastal Conservancy has put up $238,000 for the access structures that we talked about before, and the City of Carlsbad has put up $905,000.
A project of this size is an enormous undertaking. Marvin Iverson is the on-site engineer for the seawall.
Really, it's gone very well. The big concern when we first started was, of course, winter storms, which are always terrible, and we built a big berm along here to protect the construction site. But fortunately, this winter, we've never had any big storms. We had the 2 cycles of 7-foot tides, but we never did have any big storms, so we've been pretty lucky, and there's been no major problems.
One would think a structure running 3,200 feet along the shoreline would hinder access to the beach, but this factor has been taken into consideration in the construction of the Carlsbad Seawall.
The California State Coastal Conservancy, which is one of the funding agencies for the project, has given the city a grant to improve beach access. As a part of the project, with a $238,000 grant from the Conservancy, we are installing integral to the wall 7 beach access stairways, as well as improving the Tamarack Avenue existing stairway and adding a new bluff top stairway from Carlsbad Boulevard all the way down to the top of the wall at Sycamore. So we will be adding 9 new access points to the beach itself.
And for those of you who seem to plan your sunset beach walks during the highest tides of the year, the seawall may be the answer to all your dreams.
Up on top there will be a poured-in-place 10-foot wide concrete sidewalk, which will extend the entire length of the wall. The purpose there is to get people to use the wall down to the beach and back up to the bluffs. The other thing is, because of the other advantages, it'll be a very nice viewing platform for the beach area.
But is the Carlsbad Seawall going to be a maintenance problem? And what about vandalism and graffiti?
Graffiti will be the main maintenance item. It's an attractive nuisance. It's an untouched canvas for those that want to use it for that purpose. We hope that that'll be minimal,
But what will be the final public sentiment concerning the Carlsbad seawall? Several years ago, when the walkway along the top of the bluffs was being built, people were very upset about that also and really didn't see any reason for it. Today, the walkway is used by hundreds of people and has become an integral part of a day or evening spent at the beach. Will the Carlsbad seawall fall into the same category? Only time will tell. I'm Ken Kibo.
I'm Doug Green. And I'm Larry Naratelli. Join us next time for 30 Minutes.